Welcome back, America. Hugh Hewitt in the ReliefFactor.com studio. Thank you so much for joining me. I got to warn you, my next guest and I might geek out and start talking about the FEHB, the SES, the Thrift Savings Plan, ALJs, the Merit Systems Protection Board, all the kind of stuff that goes with having been an alum of OPM, because Kay James was the director of OPM. I was merely the general counsel and deputy director and acting director of OPM. But when OPMers get together, they turn to acronyms immediately. She is now, however, the all-knowing, the all-powerful Oz, the head of Heritage Foundation. Kay, great to have you. Kay James, great to have you on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Hi, and good morning. But you know the most important thing we talk about, Hugh?
Which is?
Snow days.
Snow days. You know, Connie Horner used to make me come in to pull the button. Did you go in on your own snow days?
Well, actually, I did.
Yeah, see, Connie would make me come in. She didn't want to have any part of that, so I've always held that against her. Kay James, you're now the head of the Heritage Foundation, and it's back doing just amazing work. And the reason I want to talk to you is it's State of the Union Day. And I have my State of the Union bingo card, and on it I've got Venezuela, border, and drugs. Those are the three things I've got for State of the Union bingo. What do you expect to hear the president talk about?
Well, I think all of those are good, and you're sure to win straight down because I think you're going to hear all of that. But along with that, you know, I'm sort of hoping we're going to hear about some health care, perhaps something about education, perhaps something about infrastructure. Of course, we want to hear something about trade. That's a big thing for us. We're looking to hear all of that. And, you know, the president has a lot that he can brag about in all those areas. But what I'm listening for, and I think a lot of conservatives are listening for, is what's coming next. What's on the agenda for the coming year.
Now, Kay James, there's always a tension between those people like your friend Dr. Chiron Skinner and my friend John Bolton, your friend as well, who want the president to talk to the world, and those people who want him to talk to the Democrats, right? There's those people who want to get an agenda through Congress in there, but those people like me and you and Dr. Skinner who want him to talk to the world. What is the balance you think he'll strike?
Well, see, I think it's important for him to talk to the world. The world will be watching. This is the geeky public policy Super Bowl, and I assure you it's going to be a lot more interesting and vibrant than the one we just saw last Sunday. So, yes, this is big, and the world will be watching. But you know what? I think the president has done a better balance of almost any president I've seen of speaking on the world stage, but also recognizing that the guy out there, the gal out there in one of the flyover states wants to hear from their president on the State of the Union. And he does a better job of speaking directly to the hearts and minds and souls of the American people than any president in recent times, since Ronald Reagan.
The State of the Union is at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, 5 p.m. in the West, and I don't know where you watch it, Kay James, if there's a watch party at the Heritage Foundation.
Of course there is.
Oh, I was wondering if there's a watch party. Now, see, I got to file for both the Washington Post and NBC, so I have to watch it in a room by myself or I won't be able to do my work. I hope he opens with a cheerful salute to Nancy Pelosi. You and I don't agree with anything about Nancy Pelosi, but it is quite remarkable that she is having a comeback. And I remember when George W. Bush greeted her so graciously years ago as the first woman speaker. Are you expecting the president to do something like that?
I am expecting to see an olive branch tonight. I expect that he will honor her role in this and give her a polite nod. You know, one of the things about Donald Trump that we all know is that you can't predict entirely exactly what might happen. But if you pull way up 35,000 feet above all of this, not just for the policy, I think American people are going to be looking at the tone and the tenor of this. They are ready to see some reconciliation. They want to see some consensus building. And what's interesting is how the Democrats have been able to have this narrative where they are the ones with the olive branches. They are the ones that are holding out the hope of consensus building. And yet it has actually been this president who's been willing to work with his counterparts work with folks across the aisle to get things done on behalf of this country. So we've got to change that narrative and help people to understand he is about governing, and a part of governing means reaching a hand across the aisle. So I'm looking to see if that happens tonight.
Talking with Kay James, president of the Heritage Foundation. Kay, obviously immigration and border security is going to be front and center. There is a conference committee of 17 that are meeting. The president said, if you don't have border barriers, don't even bother me. I think they can go big. I know that Heritage is deeply invested in reform of the legal immigration system. Do you expect the president to extend the olive branch that far? Because it is his signature issue, building a border barrier, and Nancy Pelosi does not seem to be inclined to give him anything on that, even though at the port of entry they picked up the largest bust of fentanyl, and I saw a couple of dumb Democrats say that means it must be all coming through the port of entries. That actually doesn't follow at all. That's not logical. Yeah. But what do you expect to hear from him on border security and immigration?
Well, I expect him to stand firm, hold fast. Yes, we need a border security, and that means at certain parts in our country we definitely need a border wall. But I hope that the president, in negotiating for his wall, will stand firm in some of the other areas as well and not give away the farm. We've got to do something about chain migration. We've got to do something and hold fast on amnesty. There have been many of our presidents in the past who negotiated in good faith and then were left with absolutely nothing. I don't think you're going to see that with this president. He knows better and knows how to negotiate.
Two more subjects I want to cover for you. When I first became aware of Heritage when I was a young Reaganite back in the day, Heritage was and remains a leader on defense and strategic thinking. The president, I think, is getting rolled on his promise of a 355-ship Navy. I saw the CNO the other day put out a story saying maybe we don't need 355. And I thought to myself, I wonder if anyone got the president to say we don't need 355. Where are we? I mean, we've got budget, but we don't have platforms. We need a new bomber. We need more submarines. The Columbia class has got to get in there. We need to up our missile defense. It just seems to me that the American people have taken the eye off the ball, that Reagan's theory of peace through strength has been Trump's motivating force, but he doesn't talk about it much.
Well, we're going to try to bring that issue to the forefront, not only with the president, but with the American people. You know, every year we publish the U.S. military strength document where we look at and assess our military readiness. And one of the things I just yesterday said to the Heritage staff, we have got to make that document a lot more visible for people to understand that, how our military has been just decimated. Our pilots aren't even getting enough time in the seat for training in order to practice and hone their skills. We don't have the equipment that we need to fight a war or on several fronts. We certainly hope that the president sees and recognizes this, and at the Heritage Foundation, we're going to do everything we can to use our influence and on the administration to give them the data, the research, and the analysis to move forward with the correct policy.
Now, my last question, Kay James. I am hoping that the president takes, there's always a scramble for time. Everyone wants a slice of the State of the Union, but I hope he takes 5 minutes to explain to the American people that in front of him is a Senate that has obstructed the nominees that he has put forward. One of them works for you. Cully Stimson should be the general counsel of the Navy, should have been the general counsel of the Navy 2 years ago. He's still doing great work at Heritage, but he's been screwed by the Democrats because of their 30 hours per appointee pre and after cloture. The filibuster's gone, but they're just playing four corners offense, running it down. I want him to talk about it, and I want him to talk about it especially with regards to judicial appointees. General Meese, my old boss, is over there with you at Heritage, helping to advise on that. But do you expect, it's complicated, it's boring sometimes, but if the American people knew what the Democrats were doing, I think they would be upset. Do you agree, or do you think that that's just too low on the priority totem pole?
I think it's at the top of his agenda. Whenever I have the opportunity to interact with the president or people at the White House, always we talk about the fact that the president cares deeply and understands the significant role that he has in making sure that our judiciary is getting the best and brightest and the most conservative minds. I don't know, and I think you're absolutely right. You know what the process for the State of the Union is like, and everybody wants a line in there. I will be sitting tonight on the edge of my seat and hoping that there is a line in there that the president says he will keep his eye on his judicial nominees. He will make sure that the Democrats do their job on behalf of the American people and move these nominees along. Cully Stimson is not only an employee at the Heritage Foundation, he is a friend, and when I witnessed what happened to him in his process last year, it was just very painful to watch that experience. And it's not just Cully; it's hundreds of people. Many of them are friends of yours and mine. And to watch what this Senate Democrats have done in obstructing the president and getting the nominees both for his administration and on the bench it's just horrible.
It is, and it's unprecedented, and not just Cully, but lots of people who have put themselves on hold, put themselves forward for scrutiny, absolutely screwed over by the Democrats. I wish the president renominates Cully. I wish they would renominate every judge and get moving on it. Kay, it is so great to have you here. Kay Cole James is how you follow her on Twitter, at Kay Cole James, and she, of course, the president of the Heritage Foundation. Thanks for all the great work you have done, are doing, will continue to do from Massachusetts Avenue Southeast. Don't go anywhere, America.